When asking people what they want, many will answer prestige or status, besides money of course. Social status is something many of us are striving for or aiming at. Why is that? Because we want to have power. We want to feel higher or feel better or be better than another person. But the problem with status is, it's fragile. It's basically chasing after nothing. Why are status and prestige basically nothing? And if we are not aiming at prestige or status, what can we aim at instead? It all starts with endless competition and rivalry. Everything that brings me up brings down my competitors. Everything that brings them up brings me down. In a society where the place of individuals is not determined in advance and hierarchies have been obliterated, people are endlessly preoccupied with making a destiny for themselves, distinguishing themselves from the common herd. Since we do not have an imposed hierarchy anymore to distinguish ourselves from others, like it was the case in the past with aristocracy and common people, for example, we compete to figure it out. We compete to figure out who can lead the pack, right? Like who can lead us humans, or like who is more responsible for something or more capable of something. Let's say two people are fighting, and two people are fighting for an object, or like they're desiring this object. And in the beginning, it's all about the object, right? Because they want to have this object. But as the fight intensifies, or the fight gets stronger, they are just focused on each other. The two people are just focused on each other. Why? Because it's only about to win. It's only about to be better than another person. It's either to be dominated or to dominate. And the object at the same time is basically forgotten. So there's basically nothing to be gained anymore from this competition, from this rivalry, except the win over another person. And of course, this competition creates some prestige, right? When we are involved in some competition, there's some prestige to it. When we win over another, there's some prestige. But as we can see here now, when the rivalry or competition is so strong that they forget basically about the object, it's like that they fight over nothing. Or the competition is about nothing. Only that there's the fact that there's a competition, prestige is created. But as we can see, this is the nothingness of prestige or the nothingness of status. Fighting over prestige is literally fighting over nothing. In the absence of any concrete object, the nothing of prestige appears to be everything, not only from an adversary's point of view, but in the eyes of all. Think, for example, of sports competition. There's basically no object to be gained. Of course, we can argue there is everlasting fame to be gained, or also that there's a medal or like a trophy to be gained, or some prize money. But there's no real object, right? Why they are competing. There's no real object behind it. Like, let's say they're competing for a piece of land, for example. That would be a real object, but they're not. They're just competing for the sake of competition. And that's why this is only about to win, like to win the competition, but with nothing attached. The best example to illustrate Girard's position is found in the rivalry over prestige or honor, as in sports competitions, duels, etc., in which there is no longer any physical object present. The Latin word for prestige is suggestive of this void, for it signifies an illusion or mirage. To summarize it really fast, people in the beginning could probably desire the same object, or probably also not. But let's say they desire the same object. So they desire the same object, they go in some competition. As the competition or the rivalry grows and intensifies, they are forgetting about this object because it's just to be better than another person, right? It's just to win against the other person, like who's better and who's worse. Because they sacrifice so much in this competition, in this rivalry, that signals that there must be something important to fight over, right? Because otherwise, like, what should justify this competition? What should justify that they use so much of their energy to be in this competition? And the same, it signals also to the outside that there must be some good reason that they are competing, or that there's like this rivalry. But through this, like through the fact alone that this is a competition, that there's so much invested, that there's so much sacrifice for, like so much energy invested from those two people, prestige is created because people think, okay, like the winner gets some prestige because the winner is like better than the other person. But in the end, it's all a competition about nothing, right? There's no real physical object to be gained. Now the question arises, if we should not aim at status and prestige, at what should we aim instead? According to Naval Ravikant, wealth is a better option compared to status. Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. What are the characteristics of a status game? Status is a zero-sum game. It is a very old game. We've been playing it since monkey tribes. It is hierarchical. Who's number 1, who's number 2, who's number 3. And for number 3 to move to number 2 has to move out of that slot. So status is a zero-sum game. According to Naval Ravikant, status games are there for a reason. They are there to figure out who's in charge, right? When someone wins a competition, or like when someone rises in the social hierarchy, like we figure out who is more competent, at least we think so. And based on that, the person will lead, or like has the highest responsibility and lead like some number of other humans. Wealth games on the other side are positive sum games. Like we can increase the pie, so to speak, right? We can make it bigger and bigger and everyone can profit. Like there are many winners. Or like maybe everyone can basically win in those wealth games. Compared to status games, where not everyone can win. Basically, it's always like one gets up or one gets down, right? To move to the top of the hierarchy, one has to always like exchange with another person. I get like this king position, one king has to step down, right? Like not me, but like maybe you. Yeah. So it is just like that we always have to then exchange in status games. It's zero sum. While wealth games are positive sum games. Now, besides wealth, is there something else what is worth striving for instead of status? According to Peter Thiel, it is much better to aim at substance instead of status. Always value substance over status, substance over prestige. In this case, substance means something valuable or something meaningful. And status and competition are so dangerous because they can blind us to pursue the meaningful, to pursue the valuable. When people are so immersed in their competition or in their rivalry, they are so focused on the competition that they forget the object, what we said before, right? They forget why they are even doing something. But people's identities get so wrapped up in the things they compete for that it was inconceivable for people to actually do that, leaving a high-paying job as a lawyer, what Peter Thiel did. Now, how can this look to value substance over status? If you think the future on maybe 3 horizons, one is very short-term, there's medium-term, and there's very long-term. So, medium-term is how good it is on your resume. Very short-term is, are you going to be happy and will you be learning a lot? And very long-term is, are you working on something important or meaningful? And so I think we are in a skewed world where we overweight the medium-term and we underweight some combination of the short-term and the long-term. And so I would recalibrate it too. Focus on some combination of short-term and long-term and forget about the medium-term. This can be an extremely valuable heuristic to use. Instead of asking ourselves, how does this job look in our resume? We can now ask, do I learn something on the job in the short term? And also, will this be like important for me or meaningful for me or for people around me in the long term? The learning is that prestige and status are more or less a side product. But to strive for it in the first place is dangerous. We looked before at what we could aim at instead of aiming at status. So that was basically wealth and like substance, right? But now the thing is that even if we are aiming at those things, prestige of course can always follow. In Paul Graham's words, it's a side product, right? And this is then the good part of it, so to speak, because when we aim at other things, prestige can follow. But aiming at prestige or status, like in the first place, it's really, really dangerous. Why is it so dangerous? Because when we aim at it, we get totally wrapped up, like we get, so to speak, corrupted by it. Let's say you get presented a work, and you don't really like the work you get presented. But now the people tell you, or like the crowd or society tells you that this work is extremely prestigious. So you're like, maybe actually I like that work. Or at least that's what you tell yourself, right? So that is what prestige is doing. Prestige is basically really corrupting us to like something what we probably don't like, but now we like it because prestige is involved. The same can sometimes go with money, right? Like when a lot of money is involved, we sometimes force ourselves to like it, even if we don't really like it. Like it's basically lying to ourselves. But this is exactly the danger of prestige. Prestige is like a powerful magnet that warps even your beliefs about what you enjoy. It causes you to work not on what you like, but what you would like to like. That's what leads people to try to write novels, for example. They like reading novels. They notice that people who write them win Nobel Prizes. What could be more wonderful, they think, than to be a novelist? But liking the idea of being a novelist is not enough. You have to like the actual work of novel writing if you're going to be good at it. So the takeaway is to focus on something what we like. If prestige follows or not is not entirely in our hands. It can follow, but it doesn't have to. The point is all to not focus on prestige and status in the first place because, they are just like not substantial, right? It's basically chasing after nothing. Maybe they follow or maybe they are not following. But even if they follow, always be careful that they don't corrupt you. Prestige is just fossilized inspiration. If you do anything well enough, you will make it prestigious. Plenty of things we now consider prestigious were anything but at first. Jazz comes to mind, though almost any established art form would do. So just do what you like and let prestige take care of itself. In many cases, if you do something great, prestige and status will follow. Now, another point is that to aim at prestige and status in the first place is fragile. Why? Because it depends so much on the opinion of other people, right? Like prestige, what we now figured out, like from René Girard's world, that prestige is basically like has no substance behind, right? It's basically nothing. It's all based on the opinion of the crowd, on how prestigious the crowd finds a certain thing you are doing or like someone is doing. That's how prestige is created. So that's why it's so fragile, because it depends exactly on the opinion of the masses. I refer to the various activities and vocations that depends most directly on the judgments of others in their most brutal and arbitrary and least subtle forms. I am thinking of those who are in direct contact with the crowd and live off its favors, like politicians, actors, playwrights, writers, and so on. The person who pays attention, of necessity, to collective reactions knows by experience that nothing in this arena can ever be taken at face value. Turnarounds can take place quite suddenly and unpredictably. I can talk to this point from experience. I have some experience with this little YouTube channel here. I know character recognition is not so big, but still, also there I feel the warp what the attention from other people can do to one, right? Even if it just be like subscriber count or like count or view count, whatever, right? These are basically actually all vanity metrics. But of course, I want that this like YouTube channel is successful, right? Of course, I consider also success when I can even just help one of you like to get value from something, like from me, like from this content, right? That would be already really good. But that's what I'm telling. Like this is a best case scenario. But of course, my mind is also attracted to likes or clicks or whatever, right? So I'm not totally innocent of those vanity metrics. And this is exactly the danger, because I can make what I think a pretty good work and what probably some other people also think is a pretty good video, which brought a lot of value, which brings a lot of value, but just let's say 10 people find it extremely valuable. And now I can also make a video which I just make think is pretty normal and doesn't have so much value, and suddenly it has 5,000 clicks, I don't know. So of course I will think, hey, this 5,000 clicks video was more valuable, but probably it wasn't even, right? Because you never know, I never know, what is the crowd sentiment, right? What is behind those clicks, how much value those people got from it. So this is the problem with prestige, because the much more robust way is not looking for those vanity metrics, for this attention and this fame, so to speak. It's more looking on what is valuable, what is meaningful. So maybe you can also use this for your work or just in general for your things, what you are doing, to focus on what is what you like and what is valuable to do, what you think at least is valuable to do, right? And then with all the crowd and with all the fame and with all the attention, with all the clicks, whatever, is secondary. Those things will probably follow when we do something valuable, or also not. But at least we focus on the substance, right? Another thing to focus on, what we now said with Naval Ravikant, is wealth, because this is also more robust, right? To focus on assets that can make money while we sleep, because this is also something we need for life, right? We need money to survive. So this is more robust than prestige, because prestige is just so much based on other people's opinions. So this is just fragile. I hope you got some value out of this video. I think for me it was a pretty interesting topic, and I hope of course for you it's also an interesting topic, and maybe you can take something away from it to focus, when you now focus a little bit on attention and prestige, maybe to focus less on it, right? And focus more on something what is meaningful, what is valuable, or even just what you like, right? Even that is sometimes a good indicator at what you can probably do and what you can become probably really good in. So thank you for watching this video today. If you have any questions, feel free to write me in the comments. All my sources I used are in the comments below. Here are some playlists you can consider watching now after you watch this video. And as always, I wish you a great day.